Well, it's great to be here with you all today. Thank you, Susan, and thank you, Anne and team, for having me. I'm just thrilled to be here. I'm not a dental hygienist. I have to have full disclosure here, but I feel like I've been with you all enough that I could play one on TV, maybe? I'm not sure, but I've really enjoyed working with you all. It's great because I think you're all just, at least those of you that I've gotten to know a little bit, you're just so intellectually curious, which is one of my favorite things. You're people that are interested in learning and growing, and I'm just really excited to be here and to work with you the rest of the day. We're going to talk a lot about careers. I think Anne's comments, as usual, were so right on, and I really could not echo enough this concept of emotional intelligence and how important that is. We're going to talk about that a little bit in my comments, but just to say that you really need to focus on those soft skills. You really need to focus on things other than your hard dental hygiene skills if you really want to carve out the kind of career path you really hope to have. So could not underscore that enough, and I know we're going to be talking a lot about that today. I look forward to working with the students as well later in the afternoon, and we're going to talk a little bit more about that then as well. So just to get us started, what I'd like you to do, I'm going to have a couple of opportunities here for you to get to know some people in the room, because that's part of what it's all about. Think about, what was your most meaningful career moment thus far? And if you are a student and you haven't had a career moment yet, think about what is one of the most important or significant moments you've had in school, in your training thus far. So I'd like you to spend a minute thinking about that, and then pick a partner sitting next to you and just share that. And then I'd like to ask for a few volunteers to share those moments with me. So just take like about 3 minutes to share with the person next to you your most meaningful career moment thus far. Who would like to share a meaningful career moment? Anyone brave enough? Come on. All right. Meaningful career moment. And tell us your name.
My name is Edie Gibson, and the most meaningful career moment for me was when I opened About Face Dental Hygiene Spa, an independent dental hygiene practice in Colorado. Thank you, Shelby.
Yay. Congratulations, that's wonderful. We have another person that's going to share with us.
Now, Edie happens to be at my table, and she was my partner. And I said, how do you compete with that?
Right.
I'm from Michigan and obviously cannot do independent practice. However, my moment was when I realized that I want to talk in front of 4,000 people.
Fabulous.
About dental hygiene.
Fabulous, thank you. That's wonderful. Okay.
Well, my name is Martha McComas, and I'm from Fort Wayne, Indiana. And my most meaningful career moment was when my best friend back in 1999 asked me to come be a patient in her dental hygiene student career path. And I laid in that chair, and I remember exactly what chair I laid in. And I looked around and I thought, this is what I want to do. And I never looked back, and I've continued to walk forward, and I've never regretted a minute of it.
Oh, great. Wonderful. Thank you. We've got 2 more individuals that would like to share with us, and then we'll wrap it up.
Hi, my name is Susan Badenjack. I'm from Montreal, Quebec, Canada. My journey is long, so you and I will have to speak. But,
okay.
My defining moment came most recently. After losing a job, I decided to go back to school, and I'm currently pursuing a master's in dental hygiene. I'm from Canada. There are no master programs in Canada, unfortunately, for dental hygienists. So I decided to enroll in an American university and went, oh my God, this is going to cost me a fortune. But anyway, decided to do it. And I guess the defining moment, the Cloud 9 moment for me, was being published in the Canadian Journal of Dental Hygiene on November 1st, 2012.
Congratulations. Wonderful. Wonderful. And, we have 2. Okay, well, 1 and 2. Go ahead.
My name is Patty Hooper. I work in Wisconsin, and my moment was a year ago in December. I'd worked in a private practice for 20 years, and the dentist came to his hygiene staff and said, you will now work in this time interval, and you will see this many patients, and this is what you will do, and there'll be no time for patient education. And sharing and bonding and communicating with your patients, because you'll have an assistant and you'll just room hop like a hamster on a wheel. And I looked at him and I said, you know what? I've placed a very important role for me in providing healthcare to your patient base and developing relationships. And if you can't value that, then you don't value what I do as a profession. And I walked out the door.
Congratulations.
So,
And where are you now?
I took a job with the Waukesha County Community Dental Health Clinic, and I work with their new grant program for treating adult patients.
Fabulous. Congratulations. That's very brave. Good for you.
My aha moment, I'm Kathy from Michigan, and I actually was in the dental chair myself, and the dentist was a friend of mine, and you know how we all become social workers, and I was, vomiting all of my problems, and he's like, well, what are you going to do with your life? I was in a kind of a career change, and I'm like, I don't know, and he said, I think you'd be a great dental hygienist, and I said, well, what is that? Because my dentist did all my work growing up, so I didn't even know there was a position. And he's like, we need people like you. You make people feel comfortable. And I thought, I don't know. But I already had a bachelor's, so I didn't want to go back to school again. And he said, there's 2-year programs. Go check it out. So I did, and it was the best change I've ever made. And I'm so happy. And now I'm here to pursue the next career change.
Fantastic. Fantastic. Well, hats off to all of you. It's so interesting because didn't we hear such a wide variety of moments here? We heard we heard some people saying, this is not for me. I'm going to make a change, and really taking the bull by the horns and making a change for themselves and really seeking a better opportunity. We have people who have had things happen to them and turn that situation around for the better. We have some very brave folks who really made some very brave decisions, and we have people who found their calling in life, right? That's one of those moments. There's a quote that there are 2 of the most important days of your life. One is the day you were born, and one is the day you understand why you were born, right? So it's that day where you understand, it sort of becomes clear, this is why I'm here, and this is what I want to do, and this is sort of my, my gift to the world. So really, really great and inspiring to hear from you all. I'm really excited. And I'll share my own because I think it's only fair. But many years ago, I worked in a number of associations. I worked in healthcare associations and a variety of other places, and I really loved my work. I loved it. I was director of education, and I did a number of great things, but I always wanted to have a business of my own, always. Wanted to have a consulting firm, wanted to, I knew exactly the niche I wanted to fill and all of that. And I was about to turn 40, and I was on my computer one day and I was pulling up old files, and I found a business plan that was dated for this new business, and it was 5 years old, and I hadn't done anything about it. And here, 5 years prior, I had taken the time, the energy, all that it takes to put together a business plan, and I did nothing about it. And I thought, if I don't do it now, I'm never going to do this. It's kind of like what people say about having a baby. If you wait for a good time, you're never going to have those kids because there's never a good time. So it can be the same about starting a business. I think you do have to be planful about it, but I thought, if I let another 5 years pass, then another 5 years pass, I'm not going to do what I really feel like my calling is. So I did start my business that year, and I've been in business about 8.5 years now, and really love every minute of it and feel like this is what I was born to do. And never looked back. And for some of you, it is starting your own practice or starting your own consulting firm or becoming a public speaker. For others, it's really just being the absolute best you can be in the job you're in, and continuing to learn and grow and acquire new skills. Everyone's got a different path, and I think that's what's most important about today is understanding it's your path. It's your path. It's no one else's. So you're going to hear a lot of great words of wisdom from a lot of people today, and you may say, I like what she said about this, and I like what he said about that, and that interests me, and that interests me, but it's ultimately your journey. So when you hear what people are saying, think about how that's resonating with you. Wow, is that exciting you? Is that something that makes you feel like that's exactly what I want to do? Or is it kind of, yeah, I kind of, I want to do this, but I think I like a little bit of what, that other panelist said, and maybe I can morph the two somehow and find my ideal path. So remember, it's very much yours. You are the architect of your own life and your own journey. And I think the other thing that's really important to remember is our careers do not exist in a vacuum, right? There's all this other stuff called life that exists around our careers. So sometimes we do have to make difficult decisions. This isn't the right time for this, but I can be planful and say, in 2 years I'll do it. I have a parent that I'm taking care of, or I have young children and it's not the time, or as someone said, I'm an empty nester now, and now is my time. So there's all kinds of reasons that you would take into account the things that are going on within your life and make decisions accordingly. But what we're going to talk about is how to be planful about it, how to really have your own vision of what you want your career to be, and then how to get there, how to take it from beyond just being a vision and how to really make a plan to help you be everything you want to be in your career, because you really can do it. All it takes is a little bit of planning. So we're going to talk now about this diagram that I think is in your handouts. And you've probably seen diagrams like this before. It's interesting because I work with a lot of groups and we talk about strategy, and one day I woke up and I thought, I don't have a strategic plan really for my life, and I don't have a strategic plan for my family. And when you really start thinking about it, isn't that what you should be doing? I mean, shouldn't we be doing this in all aspects of life? What is our vision for our life? It's not just our career, it's our life. What kind of a lifestyle do I want to lead? How does my career play into that? How do my family values play into that? How do my life goals play into that? How does my bucket list play into that? But really sitting down and almost having a strategic plan for your life. And a big part of that is your career. Because let's face it, we all spend more time probably working and sleeping, right, than doing anything else. So if you love downhill skiing, but you spend 1% of your life downhill skiing, you better like dental hygiene as much as you like downhill skiing, because you're spending a lot more time doing it. So how do you get there? You get there by really crafting a vision. I like what Anne said about having that, literal vision, really picturing yourself. Do you picture yourself running your own practice? Do you picture yourself working in a different setting? Do you picture yourself getting your master's degree or a PhD, and what you might do with that? What are your goals, and how do you envision how that's going to play out in your life? Then you have, your mission. So, your vision is sort of overarching. Then, we talk about a mission. What is your personal mission statement? And we're going to have you write a personal mission statement in a few minutes. Then the goals should stem from that, like any good strategy. Okay, I know I want to do X. How do I get there? What are my goals? I want specifically to be, making a change in 5 years. I want to work in this kind of a setting. I want to be connected to the right people. I want to hold an office in the ADHA and be an officer in the organization. Whatever the case may be, put yourself in a place where you are committing to those goals. And like anything, I think if you write it down, and even better, if you share it with someone, it's just like what they say about weight loss. It's one thing to sort of do it in secrecy, but if you say to someone, I want to do this, this is my goal, then chances are, you've made a public statement, right? You're going to be held accountable, at least in your own mind, a little bit more than if you don't. So commit to those goals. Figure out what those goals are that are right for you and commit to those. And then, strategies. How do you get there? Okay, if you want to be an officer in the ADHA, look where you are today, right? You're in the mix of many, many important, influential people in this industry. You're in the mix of many up-and-comers in this industry. Anyone who's in this room has the opportunity to get to that level. Who are the people you need to meet? How do you need to network while you're here? How can you make the most of this great day that you have ahead of you? So think about that. Tactics. Tactics are the real specific kind of down and dirty how you get there. So, from your goals, it's tactics. And it may be this month I plan to, and I'll continue along the path of this ADHA position, but this month I will sit in on a webinar. I will also follow up with the 5 people I met at the session in January. Next month, this is what I want to do. Or it could be quarterly, you don't you can go at your own pace, but commit yourself to making some steps in the direction of meeting that goal. One of the things that I've done for 2013 is I have some really specific goals relative to my business, relative to my personal life, and I have committed myself month by month. I took my overarching goals and I literally laid them out and said, this is what I'm going to do in January to get there, business-wise, personal-wise. This is what I'm going to do in February. And then I'm kind of a dork about these things, but I actually have metrics built in where I say, I'm going to be here, and but I'm holding myself accountable. For the first time, I think I'm putting a lot of teeth to not just my business goals, but my personal goals as well. And again, I think they go hand in hand. You can't have a fulfilled life if you have a fabulous professional life and a lousy personal life, right? They go hand in hand. You have to feel good about both. So it's important to always consider that whatever you do professionally has personal impact as well, positive or negative, right? And so prepare for that, and how will that shake out? What does it mean to you on a personal level? What does it mean to those around you that you love and care about? And then, so action plans. Action plans get you to the point of being, maybe you are saying, I'm going to reach out to 5 people, and then you hold yourself accountable. Okay, I connected with 4 this month. Maybe I try to reach 6 next month instead of 5. So whatever it is that's in your mind in terms of what you would like to achieve in your career, in these next 12 months, you can make major movement on those goals. Major movement. This can be your year, Commit to 2013 being your year to really move yourself in the right direction. It's easy if you make a plan and you stick to it and you hold yourself accountable. We talked about vision. This was Bill Gates' vision originally. There will be a personal computer on every desk running Microsoft software. This was way back when he started the company. What would be your personal vision? I'd like you to take about 3 minutes, and again, you're not committed to this because 3 minutes is not long enough to think about your life plan, but we will be revisiting this later in the day, and I'd like you to just start thinking about what would your personal vision statement be if you could look ahead at your career and your life? What would you like to see? Take about 3 or 4 minutes. I'm not going to ask you to share this yet because I know it's in its infancy stages, but think about as you have scribed your own personal vision statement, which you can refine later today and really put some meat on the bones. We're going to really try to have you walk away with a little bit of a plan for yourself. But think about how you can really kind of chip at the iceberg of that today. Is it by connecting with specific people in the room? Is it by finding out about something going on in public health from the people sitting at the public health tables? Is it talking to folks that have started their own practices, dental hygiene practices? What is it in your vision statement that you can at least start working on today with all the resources in this room? I always tell groups, don't miss the opportunity to connect with people when you're in a setting like this, because you will be back home in your own work environment before you know it, thinking, I wish I would have met that person, or looking over the attendee list and saying, oh darn, I didn't have a chance to connect with that person. So have an opportunity to do that today. You're going to have breaks. You're going to have all kinds of opportunities. I'm going to give you an opportunity in a couple minutes, but we'll work more on the vision statement later. I'm going to show you, this is a little bit of a diagram of what career mapping could look like For those of you who are inclined to want to look at diagrams and work with diagrams, you can see that the career is sort of in the middle, and you can look at the duties and responsibilities, opportunities for advancement, and then really it kind of all the different paths you can take in terms of what you want. What are the qualifications for the job? What are the working conditions? What does the employment look like? Is it a professional organization? Is it other employers? When you're exploring opportunities, think about these factors. What are the qualifications to get you to the next position? Do you need additional training? Do you need testing? Do you need really a big education on personal skills? Is that something that you feel, again, like the soft skills that we talked about, is that something that you feel like you need to spend a little more time and energy focusing on? So think about all of those things. We're going to talk right now about 9 keys to career success. I'm going to go through them one by one. And Anne had a great list in her presentation of things to do. I have a couple of lists of my own. I think if you look at these 3 lists throughout the day and at the end of the day, you may be miles ahead of the rest of the group or ahead of the curve in some of these areas, and in others you may think, I need to spend a little more time and energy thinking about this. So, number 1, continuous learning. You all are here today to do what? Learn. So I would say, chances are, this is a group that embraces learning. But you have to always embrace learning. Anne mentioned, a young hygienist going into a practice, maybe where someone had been around a while and thinking they're still doing it that way. Oh my gosh, why haven't they advanced? She talked about all the changes in your industry. Are you advancing with those changes? Sticking your heels in the sand is not going to get you to where you want to be. You have to have your antennas up and be reading and be thinking. When I'm a big CNN watcher, and when I watch CNN, like a junkie I might add, I always think, what does this world event, how does it connect to what I do? What impact might it have on any of my clients, on me, on the products and services I offer, on my career path? Will it open doors? Will it create economic hardship with my clients? So as you look out into the world, even well beyond dental hygiene, what's going on out there? Make yourself a continuous learner of what's happening out in the world. I love this. The wisest mind has something yet to learn. And there's also a quote by Michelangelo that I have on coffee cups in my office, because I think it's so important that we always remember this, and it says, I am still learning. Michelangelo, I am still learning, right? The smartest, most accomplished people on the planet are always learning, always. They are not people that step back and say, I've learned enough, I'm ready to be done. I use the example of Tony Bennett quite a bit, because Tony Bennett is 83 years old. Tony Bennett is an icon in the music industry. He could easily have said, I'm done. I've got a prolific amount of music out there. I've toured, I'm done. What did Tony Bennett do? Anyone? Join the younger group, right? He started working with younger artists. He reinvented himself. He kept himself relevant. He really paid attention to what people were listening to, where the trends were going in music, and he kept himself relevant. So think about that. If someone who is 83, 84 years old can do that with all the money, wealth, accomplishment that he has, we can all do that. We can all continue to learn. And that's a really great practice to embrace, is that every day you have something new to learn. Ask, listen, and learn. So be intellectually curious. One of the things that I always say is, when I hire people for my firm, I can teach them how we consult, how we do projects. There's a lot that I can teach them. But if they don't have a curiosity for learning, an intellectual curiosity, then I can do nothing with them at all. So have that intellectual curiosity. Be looking, be wondering. You know, when you stop looking at the world in a state of wonder, you really stop learning, and you become a little bit jaded, don't you? I mean, try to wake up and say, wow, you know, when you meet someone, are you interested in what their career path is about? Are you interested in who they are? Or do you kind of feel like, I'm exhausted, I've met enough people, I'm done. Sometimes we all feel like that, let's face it. But really, you know, be intellectually curious. We're gonna talk a lot more about that in the student session as well. Raise your hand a lot. One of my friends who's a CEO of an organization, been there 24 years. She started as an administrative assistant, got her master's degree while she was there, and I said, what got you to the point of moving up the ladder, you know, that far up the ladder? And she said, I raised my hand. I always offered to do something because I looked at it as an opportunity to learn something new. She didn't say, well, that's not my job, or I've already got a full plate. She said, I'll try it, sure. So not only did she learn, but she was viewed as someone who was a learner, who was capable, who was willing, who had a great attitude. So be willing to raise your hand. That is really true in the association setting. So if you are interested in moving ahead in this organization, raise your hand. You know, you may not start with a seat on the board, nor probably should you, but you will start by volunteering in different ways and getting recognized, moving into committee work, and then potentially, you know, you may find yourself on the board of directors someday if that's something that you aspire to do. But raise your hand. Associations always need great, committed volunteers. Build your network. Okay, we're gonna spend a few minutes helping you build your network right now, and I want that to continue throughout the conference. Build your network. Who's got business cards? All right. Pull out your business cards. For those who do not have business cards, it's okay. I would say go to Vistaprint and get yourself some free ones as you can, because it's great to have business cards even if you don't have a position, right? Even if you're not yet working or you're in between jobs, it's great to have a card to pass to someone. Everyone who's got cards, bring them out. What I want you to do in the next 5 minutes, this is going to be called real quick speed networking, okay? Put your roller skates on, folks. What I want you to do is get up, find 5 people to hand your card to and introduce yourself to. If you do not have a card, find 5 people to go and shake their hand. I would like students to not just work with students, but to get over to meet some professionals, but we're gonna do it fast, okay? We've got 5 minutes, we're gonna do it quickly. Think about who you wanna meet in the room and get over and meet them and give them your card. So I hope you all had a chance. I'm thrilled. I actually got a few business cards myself up here, so that's great. What are you gonna do with those business cards? Anybody? Follow up, follow up. So whoever these people are, when you go back to your offices and back to your home, take those 5 business cards, however many you got, however many you get throughout the day, sit down and write a brief email to that person saying it was great to meet with you. You may want to continue the conversation. It may just be it was great to meet with you, to meet you at the session. But follow up. You never know when you're going to see that person at another ADHA event, another dental hygiene event. So this is your opportunity to meet people. As we talk about identifying your ultimate career goal, aim high. You don't get points for aiming low, right? And if you think you're too old to have a big audacious goal, you're not. You know when it's too late? When you take your last breath. That's when it's too late, right? You're never, ever too old to start something new, to turn your career path around, to do something. And you know what I've realized, the beauty of growing old is you know a lot. People actually want to talk to you. They want to hear from you. You've kind of got this, repository of best practices and war stories and So don't ever underestimate what you have and what you've acquired throughout the years, and think that you can't do something with all that great knowledge. I like this, don't be afraid to fail, be afraid not to try. Isn't that the truth? And there's another saying about some people think, I don't have enough time to do that. And guess what? Time passes anyway. So that time's going to pass, whether you do what you intend to do, what you want to do, what you dream of doing or not. So, don't do it just because, time's going to pass. It's going to take too much time. The time's passing anyway. Identify your next career move. We're going to talk a lot about this afternoon. What is that next career move? Maybe it is staying exactly where you are, but acquiring more skills. And that is absolutely fine. That is 100% fine if that's where you want to be. There's a lot of discussion about how long people should be in positions, how long they should be with organizations. A friend of mine who runs an HR association really feels strongly that's a lot of, it's a lot of bunk, basically, that you have to keep moving and moving and moving, and that it reflects poorly on you if you're with an organization a long time. It doesn't as long as you're growing, right? As long as you're learning new things, as long as when you do decide to leave, you can put on that resume, these years I did this, but these years I acquired these new skills. I was able to do this. I was able to, help in these, different areas of the practice or whatever setting you're in. So it's fine to be in an organization a long time, as long as you love where you're at, as long as you're happy. Don't be there a long time because you don't have the vision to get up and move. But if you are happy, great, that's fantastic. Just acquire new skills and be better at what you do every day. So it doesn't take a physical move. And then assess your current skill set. This is something that can be really hard for all of us. It's not easy to take a really honest look at yourself, but you really need to do it. If you're going to succeed in anything, in a relationship with a spouse or a partner or a child or a friend or a career, anything, you need to have an honest view of yourself. What am I good at? What am I not? Where are my blind spots? Talk to some close friends. Ask some really significant questions. Talk to people that are in your industry, people that know you. Tell them what your career plans are and ask for their feedback. Do you think I need additional training or I need additional help in any of my skill set areas to get me there? What do you see as my strengths? What do you see as my weaknesses? If you're starting to hear very different things than the perception you have in your own head of who you are, then you may want to spend a little more time on self-reflection. But as in any leader you'll ever talk to, one of the things that they say that is the most important is know yourself. Know thyself. Most important thing you can ever do in life is know yourself. And if you have strengths, you want to capitalize on those strengths, but you want to address weaknesses. You don't want to get so good at your strengths that you're not focusing on weaknesses, and you don't want to focus so much on weaknesses that you're not capitalizing on your strengths, right? So you want to do both. You want to become a balanced portfolio, and you want to have certain areas that you really understand. You have gifts, and with even more concentration, you can do amazing things with them. We all have areas that we are really and truly, sort of gifted in having in our lives. We all have skills, attributes. It may be that you have the best listening skills, or you are unbelievably organizationally driven, or that you are very organized, or that you are there's many areas. So think about what it is that you're really good at, get better at it, and then address your weaknesses, and surround yourself, if you're a hiring manager, with people that complement you. Don't look exactly like you, but complement you. That's what any good leader does. This is another quote I like. People travel to wonder at the height of the mountains, at the huge waves of the sea, at the long course of the rivers, at the vast compass of the ocean, at the circular motion of the stars, and yet they pass by themselves without wondering. Isn't that true? Right? we're out looking at everything in the world around us, and we don't look inside enough. So take some time to look inside and really understand yourself. All right, identify the gap and fill it in, right? This is the easiest way to get where you want to go. Have a really honest conversation with yourself, really assess your skills. We're going to give you a chance to do that later today. Figure out where you need to be a little bit more proficient and fill those gaps. Find a way to do it. It may be through training, it may be through mentoring, and I do want to mention mentoring as a way not only to network, but a way to really help you assess your where you're at and where you should be going. A great mentor is invaluable in terms of helping you understand how to get from point A to point B, particularly if they've been there. Does anyone in the room have a mentor? Fabulous. I hope next year, when the question is asked, more of you have a mentor. And for those of you who have been in the field a while, I hope you will consider mentoring a young person that is entering practice. For those of you students in the room, find yourself a mentor. Find yourself a mentor. And it doesn't need to be some magical moment where the stars align and you're, in slow motion on the beach running toward each other. It can be at a coffee break at this particular conference. So find yourself a mentor. Find someone that you would benefit in talking to or sitting down and having lunch with or buying lunch for a couple times a year. One of the things that I've done in my own career is I have a few people that I really hold in very high regard, and I really like them for different reasons in my life. So I don't have one mentor that fits the bill on everything. I have a variety of people, maybe 5 or 6, that really mean something to me. One person that was the chair of my graduate program, which was in nonprofit organizational management. And she's the person that, if I talk to, I know what it's all about. It keeps me grounded. We talk about the underserved. We talk, she's that person to me. There's another person that's a CEO that is very black and white, doesn't have an entrepreneurial bone in his body. Not the right person to talk to when I was starting my business, but he grounds me in other ways. He's provided unbelievable business opportunities for me. He knows everyone. He's highly respected. He gives great advice, but I sort of know that we have different styles. So find that group of people. Find your advisory group. And if it's taking them to lunch, once a quarter, people are thrilled to be asked. I think for anyone who's been a mentor in the room, when someone asks, would you spend some time with me? Can I pick your brain? I really feel like I could benefit from being around you more. Wow, there is not a more flattering thing that someone can say to you, really. So take advantage of that. Think about that while you're here. Is there anyone that you want to connect with that you think you can learn from? I would imagine there are a lot of people here that you feel like you could learn from. But pick up the phone. I have a friend who tells a story that she introduced me to someone and she said, that's my mentee, after she walked away. And I said, oh, that's nice. I said, how did you get connected? She said, she walked up to me and said, will you mentor me? And I thought, oh, okay. She went the direct route. Okay, well, that's fine too. So if you are in need of a mentor, find one. If you have something to give back, there are lots of different ways that you can find people that want to be mentored. So I would highly encourage it. It's a very, very mutually beneficial relationship for all involved. I've never known a mentor that didn't feel like they learned so much through the process. So really would encourage you to do that. And then realize your dreams, right? Realize those dreams. You do not have to settle for a career or a life that falls short of what you truly want. But you have to decide what it is you want, and then you need to put the plans in place and be deliberate to get there. Any situation can be turned around. As we have a room full of people. We know everyone's got difficult things in their life, right? It may be your career that you're struggling with. It may be something on the home front. It may be, but think about how you want your life to be, and then start making movement in the right direction. We have a few more things we're gonna talk about here. As you grow, and I think this is a really important point, but try to overcome fear. Fear is usually fear of the unknown, right? We don't think we can do it. We've never done it. Sometimes you really have to. I love when I hear people saying, "Oh, I went bungee jumping because I'm afraid of heights, and I really wanted to overcome my fear of heights." Or I joined Toastmasters because I'm scared to death to speak publicly, so I really wanted to overcome, that fear. Think of what it is that scares you and forge through it if it's around your career. You don't have to be paralyzed by something that concerns you or something that scares you about a career move. If you don't try, you're not going to get there. And most successful leaders in the world today, if you read books on leadership, most of them have had really significant failures along the way, right? And some would say, if you haven't had a failure, you're not pushing yourself hard enough. You're not trying. So it's okay to fail. It's what you do with it. It's okay to make mistakes. It's how you rebound, right? And part of that is self-confidence. Part of that is staying, very focused and, not letting one negative event or negative moment or negative comment have any impact on your dream and on where you want to go. So we talked about, remember that success takes time. I already gave you this quote, that time will pass anyway. And then have pride in your work. You need to feel good about your work every day. What is your elevator pitch? Do you have an elevator pitch? If someone says to you, what do you do for a living? How do you describe what you do for a living? Do you describe it proudly? Do you underplay it? Do you sort of, mumble under your breath? I have a really hard time with my elevator pitch because I, do training and development for adults in associations. That's kind of that's not a cocktail party thriller, that line right there. So, so now I just say, I do a lot of leadership development. And then then people will say, well, what kinds of organizations? And then, we get into it. But I want to see how invested they are in the answer before I start babbling about it. But think about how you would describe your profession and how you feel about it and how you would describe what you do, not only your profession, but what you do. I lead a this, I manage a this, I work with patients to do this. Whatever it is, how do you project your professional career out to the world? So I would encourage you to kind of look at that. And then community and leadership. We don't operate in a vacuum. You have a community around you. I remember maybe about 10 years ago, I was having a lot of insomnia, and I happened to go to Canyon Ranch on business. And I don't know if any of you have heard of Canyon Ranch, but it is nirvana. I was only there for 2 days, but it's one of these holistic, beautiful places. I went to the one in Tucson, Arizona, in the middle of the mountains, and the food is healthy, and they have exercise classes, and they have classes about, how to be heart healthy, and it's just amazing. A lot of people with wealth, I guess, go there, and they have all their doctors at Canyon Ranch. So they go once a year, a lot of senior executives, and they get a full rundown, and the doctors tend to be a little bit more progressive and holistic and whatnot. So they had a sleep specialist there, a sleep therapist. So I thought, okay, I'm here for a day and a half. I'm going to go meet with this woman because I am up all night. So I sat down with her, and she said, so tell me what your life is like. And I, started on one hand, and I went on the other hand, and I have 2 kids, I have an aging mother, I have a husband, I started a business, I travel. And she said, well, you've got to cut at least a couple of those things out. I'm like, okay, kids, you're on your own. Too much work, I'm done. No, but I thought, no, I can't do that. And I said to her, that's what makes me me. That's my pie of life. If I'm not involved in my community, giving back somehow, then I feel like it's a life less lived for me. If I'm not involved in my profession, speaking and giving back that way, then I don't feel like I'm kind of being me. So it was an interesting exercise, and what I ended up doing was turning down the thermostat and wearing an eye shade, and kept my life the same. But it worked. Oddly enough, it worked. But the point is, you have a whole, you think of your life as a pie, right? Your professional life is a piece of that pie. It's a big piece of that pie. But what else makes up your life, right? What are the important, it could be spirituality, it could be physicality, it could be, there's an old Indian saying about there are, 4 houses of your life, and it's your spiritual, your physical, your house of love, and I think it's your emotional. And if you don't visit all 4 rooms in that house every day, you tend to not feel right. So, look at your own diagram of what your house would be, and what's in that house. What makes you whole? What makes you excited? What makes you feel good? For me, when I travel too much sometimes, I feel a little bit off because I'm not exercising. I'm not in touch with my friends and my family that mean a lot to me. So then I come home and I try to, of course, make up for lost time, which never works, but then you come home and you feel more balanced, right? So if I start recognizing that that's a pattern, then what am I doing about my travel, right? Then I need to find a way to make my life feel more balanced, or I need to find a way to be home more. So it's really, it's a good exercise to sort of sit down and think about what is it that is important to me. And it's not about getting things off your plate. It's about finding ways to manage those things in conjunction with a very full and rewarding career. And really, that's what makes you you. Everyone's got a different pie. Everyone's pie looks a little bit different. We're going to talk just at the end here about self-confidence. We have got about 15 minutes. And we're going to talk about how do you build self-confidence. So, some of us maybe feel more confident. I think confident many times comes with age and experience, but that doesn't mean it should take you 20 years to feel confident, really, right? There's things that you can do to make yourself feel confident when you're going in for your first job interview, or something that can make you feel self-confident going back to school after being in the workforce for 30 years. So what are those things? Dress sharp. I think this can't be underestimated, and you all are a pretty darn sharply dressed crowd here, I'm happy to say, but think about how you present yourself. And I know that in many work situations you're probably not dressed in business clothes, right? You're dressed in other types of work clothes. But when you are, in a position like this, when you're meeting people, if you're at an off-site function, think about how you're presenting yourself and how you're dressing. Even if you're dressing in uniform, is it clean? Is it pressed? Is your hair, cut and tailored? And are you presenting a professional image? I think is really what it boils down to. Are you presenting a professional image? Carry yourself well. One of the things I always get on my 10-year-old son for is he walks like this. And he looks down. And I'm like, look up, hold yourself back. It makes a huge difference in the world, right? If you push your shoulders back, hold your head up, have eye contact with people. It can't be stressed enough, to really consider how you carry yourself, how you walk. Are you walking in shoes that are uncomfortable and that you can't walk in? Are you in clothes that you don't feel right in? Make sure that you feel good when you walk out the door, and carry yourself with pride. Carry yourself with dignity. Improve your communication skills. This could come in a variety of ways, just many, many ways. For some of us, it's, we've gotten into the world of email, Skyping, texting, Instagramming, Facebooking, all of that, and we're communicating in really, really short text and really truncated text. That, for those of you who are entering the work world, that does not fly in the professional environment. So put that aside when you walk in the doors of a professional environment or when you're communicating in a professional way. You still need a salutation, you still need, you know, a well thought out, well constructed couple of sentences and a, you know, thank you, sincerely yours kind of a thing. So if it's verbal communication that hangs you up, how can you improve on that? One thing is through practice. Again, raise your hand for opportunities to learn to present in, you know, settings. You can start small, get bigger. You can go to a Toastmasters class. There are so many opportunities to improve your verbal communication. And this can be, you don't have to want to be a public speaker. If you just want to feel more comfortable standing up in front of your team and presenting your new plan, or if you want to feel more comfortable going into a job interview, any of these things, work on those communication skills. Communication skills are, for a long while, particularly in technical fields, were very underappreciated and probably under-trained. And I know, you know, engineers and my husband is a 3D designer, and you know, he did not take a lot of communication as he was going through school. And I think I'm happy to see that a lot of the programs now are reintroducing that and really saying, if you can't pass these communication courses, you're out basically, because this is the key to life. So think about how well you communicate. Think about how well you write, how well you speak, how comfortable you are in one-on-one discussions, how comfortable you are in small groups. Here I'm talking about speaking and I'm tripping up on my words. But think about all of that and then work on what it is that kind of trips you up, and really always try to perfect that communication. Show gratitude. Boy, this is one of, I think, the easiest things to do. And talk about the karma train, right? Showing someone that you appreciate what they do, who they are, the way they, greeted you in the morning, buying someone a cup of coffee. It's that whole, good deeds go forward. You can start someone's day by scowling and, walking into the office with your cup of coffee and throwing your coat on a hook, or you can say, how are you? How's it going? Sometimes we have to be reminded of that, and sometimes I have to be reminded of that. There are days where I'm just tunnel focused on what I have to get done. And I realize I need to step out of my office. I need to go in and talk to my team, even just, what did you do for the week, over the weekend? How are you doing? How are the kids? It's not false, it's real. I just forget to do it sometimes. I really do. So making a real deliberate effort to show gratitude and to be conversant and to show people that you care about who they are as human beings. Forgive mistakes. Anyone in the room never made a mistake? Of course not, right? There are people in the workplace, though, that I think do believe they've never made a mistake. You might know a few. We all make mistakes, and the important thing is we learn from them, right? So if someone on your team makes a mistake and you can debrief with them and say, how do we make sure this doesn't happen again? Can we figure out what did cause this to happen? Is it something in our process? But don't skewer people over mistakes. Everyone makes mistakes. If it's sloppy work that is an ongoing trend, you've got a different issue. Then you've got a performance issue. But really, learn to be magnanimous and move on from mistakes. And yourself as well. Probably, that's something I should mention. We are much harder on ourselves typically than other people are, right? Other people may have forgiven us long ago, and you're still remembering that one time. I have a friend who anything happens and she's plagued for years by it. She remembers that she thought someone was pregnant and she, 20 years ago, and she said, when's the baby due? And she wasn't. And, she's still waking up in a cold sweat about this every night. Forgive yourself, move on. Mistakes are made. Make right with the person and move on. Compliment others. I think this goes with, showing that you care and showing gratitude that was great work. I really appreciate it. The best thing is complimenting people in front of other people, right? that goes such a long way. It's like when you get flowers from your spouse or your husband or your boyfriend or partner at home, and nobody gets to see them. Send those flowers to the office, doggone it. I want everyone to know I got flowers. Same thing with compliments, right? If you compliment in front of other people, then other people know that person did something great, right? It's just a little, it kind of moves it up the scale a little bit, right? And if you compliment them in a meeting in front of a lot of people, even better. Have significant eye contact. I don't know if you've ever been in a small group discussion or a large group discussion where someone stares at one person, they become comfortable with just that one person in the circle, and the entire time they're talking, they've got laser focused eyes on that one person. You think they're gonna burn a hole right through their shirt. You've got to move your head around. You've got to have good eye contact. Eye contact goes with any part of being a professional. It's a form of acknowledgement. What happens when you don't have eye contact with people? They don't trust you. They tune out. They feel like, well, she's not talking to me anyway, so I guess I'm going to work on my plan here. Yeah, it's not the way to be. I mean, you want to have good eye contact with people. And when you're talking in a small group, work your way around the room. When you're up at a podium, try to work your way around the room as well. It's a little harder, but have eye contact. Don't alienate any part of the room or any part of the people in the conversation. Speak up. Most of you have incredibly good ideas within you, and you also have ideas on the way things should be run, innovations, best practices. Speak up. It's part of being professional as well. A CEO from one of my client groups noticed as he became the CEO that he was the only one that ever had an opinion, and it seemed like everyone else was just acquiescing to him and acquiescing to the members in the group. And so one of the things he told them was, have an opinion. Have an opinion. It's fine to have an opinion. You have to couch it the right way. You need to say it professionally. You don't have personal attacks. You need to think about, is this the right time to say it? Or maybe should I say it a little later or a little earlier? But it's okay to have an opinion. And one of the things that I've learned along the way is a great way to couch that opinion is, in my professional opinion, I would say we should do this. In my experience, I would say maybe that this is the right route. Those are really great ways to sort of say, I'm a professional, I've got some experience, this is my opinion. They can take it or leave it, but voice your opinion. You have every ability and every right to be heard. Get healthy. This comes in a lot of different ways. There are probably people in the room that are really struggling with serious health issues, chronic health issues. There are those of us that need to just, maybe lose 10 pounds. There are those of us that have, are trying to quit smoking, or, have not been on a treadmill in a long time, or have high blood pressure. Whatever it is, you will do better, feel better, if you can move the needle on your own personal health. And it may be something, small. It's not necessarily that it's easy to tackle these things, but if you have a personal health issue that you feel is holding you back in any way, certainly do what you can to address those issues. And just be healthy just for the sake of stamina. What you all do, and what I've heard a lot, is that it's hard to be on your feet as much as you are. It's hard work. We hear this a lot from the nursing groups. It's hard physical work. So the healthier you are, the better you're going to feel doing your work, and the less difficult the day is going to be. And then focus on contribution. As you think about your career and you think about where you want your career to go, how can you contribute in the work setting, outside the work setting, professionally, within ADHA, within this profession overall? How do you want to contribute? Because you all have certainly the ability to contribute, and you all have untold amounts of wisdom and knowledge that would benefit an organization and this association. So how is it that you want to contribute to your career? How do you want to make this career? What's your legacy, if you will? You know, how would you like to put your stamp on your own career or on this profession? And think about that. And understand how to advocate for yourself and others. This kind of goes along with speaking up, but it's so important to know how to advocate for things you believe in. And really, you know, sometimes it's sitting down with someone. We do a whole course on pitching ideas, and it's really about understanding your audience. It's about understanding what it is you're advocating, understanding when the time is right, but certainly know how to advocate for yourself and for others if you're a team leader. You know, it doesn't mean that you are always advocating for your team. You know, we've all been in organizations where there are people that they're always trying to do something. They always want something more for their team. They're never happy. They always, you know, you have to be reasonable. I always use the analogy of being a state representative versus being a senator. And when you're a state representative, you're really, you know, you're trying to bring the money home, right? You're trying to bring the money to your district. You're trying to do projects. You're really focused on your people. When you become a senator, you have to put on a little bit of a different hat. You're certainly accountable to the people in your state, but you are also part of that full Senate leadership team where you have to think about the greater good. So advocate for yourself, but always keep in mind what is best for the organization as a whole as you're working yourself up the chain. And then focus on EQ. Again, this is emotional intelligence. Try to get your radar a little higher. Does anyone in the room feel like they have really high radar, like things just hit their radar all the time? A couple people raise their hand, and I have to say I feel a little bit like that. Sometimes I feel like I wish I could turn my radar off. But you know, you get those gut instincts and, you know, all of that. Trust your gut, I think, is another thing to think about. If something doesn't feel right, it may not be right. But focus on the EQ. This is, you know, it's well beyond soft skills. It's understanding people, understanding situations, reading between the lines, reading the tea leaves, as they say. I completely agree with the book that Anne recommended that you read on emotional intelligence, and there's a lot of articles along the lines. There used to be this philosophy that you had to be born with it, and if you weren't born with it, you know, you were out of luck. It's not true. You can definitely acquire these skills. You just have to be aware of it. So, you know, read situations, read people, read body language, you know, try to get your EQ just a little bit higher than it's ever been. Those are things that are really going to benefit you as time goes on. And, you know, self-awareness and self-evaluation. We talked about this, but do you save time for yourself? Do you find ways to fuel yourself? So we talked about this pie. We talked about the pie being very full in many lives, but what do you do to make sure that you are not depleted at the end of the day, or at the end of the week, or at the end of, you know, the year, if you will? How do you take those New Year's resolutions to find time for yourself and really make them happen? It could be 5 minutes a day. It could be, you know, sitting in the quiet with a cup of tea or a cup of coffee before your house wakes up. Whatever it is that brings you peace and kind of brings you back to who you are and makes you feel regenerated, because we all can get to that point of feeling really, really depleted. So how do you make sure, and how do you notice the signs before you're absolutely out of gas? How do you make sure you get there? Do you sleep enough? Are you encouraging wellness in yourself and others? You know, you don't have to run marathons, but think about ways to really incorporate more activity into your lives. There's a book that I love that is called, it's like Fitness Over 40. I'll think of it in a minute. And it's all about, you know, when you reach your 40s, that, and then there's one for the 50s and one for the 60s, but really that, you know, we need to move our bodies, or our bodies will stop moving, right? I mean, now is the time to really, you know, assess, for those of you who are there, what it is you need to keep you feeling good, and really pay attention to that. What, in what situations are you feeling great physically? In what situations are you not? I know for me, if I'm not getting 8 hours of sleep a night, I'm a baby about my sleep. I need my sleep, but I get sick. I know that. I travel too much, I'm in different time zones. If I'm not clocking my 8 hours on a regular basis, I will get sick. So that I know. Everyone's got something different. Some people can fuel on 6, but if they don't exercise every day, they can't even function. So know yourself and know how to keep those healthy patterns in place. This was the quote I was talking about earlier, which I really, really love. And it's the 2 most important days of your life are the day you were born and the day you find out why, right? And then be authentic. I hope you heard that in this presentation and in what Anne was saying and in what we're going to talk about the rest of the day. But be true to who you are. There is only one you. You are not, you're like a snowflake. You're not the same as anyone else in this room. So you may see people and say, wow, I wish I could have that career, or I wish I could have that life. But it's a series of sliding doors, right? Like the movie Sliding Doors. Everything that you have had happen in your life up until this point has made you who you are. It's made you very uniquely you. So be authentic to who you are. What do you want out of your life? How do you get there? What are your limitations? How do you adapt to those? How do you overcome them? And how do you really be who you want to be at the end of the day and focus on the best career possible?